Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Pen Habit. I'm glad to be back for another review. And I can't even hold the box without a smile on my face. If you've seen an earlier video, you know what this little softwood box means. That means there is a Nakaya pen inside this case. And if you've seen my review of the Nakaya Decapod, you know I really like the pen. They're not cheap, and this is not mine. Much to my chagrin, that pen is not mine. It was sent to me by a viewer to review, and all I have to say to that reviewer is, you are lucky I am an honest man, because if I weren't, that pen might get lost in the mail. Catch my drift. Fortunately, I am an honest man, so he will get it if I have anything to say about it. It's a beautiful, beautiful pen. I actually think I like it even more than my Decapod. So let's dive into the review. Open up the softwood box, and inside you've got, as before, the ink cartridges and the pen kimono. And you open up the pen kimono, and my pen kimono had a different color on the inside, I think. Out comes this lovely red beauty. This is the Nakaya Neo Standard in the Aka-Tamenuri finish, and that's the reddish red finish. It's done with that same urushi lacquer, and if I zoom back in here, you can see the Decapod had ridges where when it was polished, you could see the undercolor shine through just a little bit more. Here, there aren't as many, so it's not quite as vibrant, but you can see on the edges here and on the corners down here, they did several coats of a lighter red and then a darker red over the top of it. And I'm sure this video doesn't capture it, but it is a rich, deep, almost alive looking thing. It's just a beautiful finish. And as much as I love my Aka-Tamenuri, which is the brown green, this reddish red is pretty darn special, I have to say. I like this pen a lot. Now, this pen is, instead of their cigar, is the writer, I believe. I can't remember which is which, but it comes with a clip. The clip is really sturdy and solid there. Nice understated shape, but it's not your standard flat top. It's not your standard cigar shape. It's got a little bit of character to it, which I like a lot. Pen is made of ebonite, and unlike the other pen, which is also made of ebonite, this pen has a little bit more heft to it, and it's a big pen. It's a good sized pen. So you can see by comparison here, this is the Pilot Falcon, and this is the Nakaya Neo Standard. So much larger pen on the Neo Standard. It's a cartridge converter pen, uses platinum cartridges and converters, comes with the platinum cartridges, as you saw. Beautiful gold nib. Looks like as I mentioned earlier, it's the same nib profile as the platinum nibs, and has many of the same characteristics as well, but with the Nakata family name on there. And this is a bold nib. And you'll notice here on the threads, they didn't lacquer those like they did on the Decapod. You can take it apart here. Metal threads on the section, and then the nice high quality platinum converter there. So this pen is a beauty. It's an absolute beauty. It's funny because I was actually at work when I picked the pen up from the post office because I had to sign for it on my way to work. And so I opened the box at work and inked it up. I keep several bottles of ink at work as well. Inked it up. And the instant I put it in my hands to feel how it felt, I was like, oh, wow, this is the right fit for me. It's, as a bigger pen, that does make sense. So let me give you the stats. It's 22 grams without the cap and 30 grams with. You're looking at an 11 millimeter section right here, and a 14.6 millimeter thickest part of the barrel with a 15.4 millimeter thickest part of the cap. It is 135 millimeters uncapped, so it's a long pen uncapped, which is good because this pen can't really be posted. I mean, you can kind of put it on there. I'm not going to try to force it, but if you pseudo post it, it's 187 millimeters, which is just way too long to use. and capped it's 147 millimeters. So it's a nice long pen. It feels substantial without feeling heavy. The section tapers from about 10 to about 12 millimeters, depending on where you hold it. Smack dab in the center, it's 11, and it just fits my hand perfectly. Love, love, love the look of this pen. Now, the one thing I will point out about this pen, which surprised me, was that the nib, when it came, the tines were severely out of alignment. I mean, they were like this, which is unfortunate. On the plus side, I reached out to the owner, asked him if he'd be okay with me adjusting the tines rather than sending it back to the retailer. He said that was fine. So I just tweaked the tines a little bit. And as soon as the tines were in alignment, it was perfectly smooth. So it was just that minor little thing of the tines being out of alignment, which surprised me, was a little disappointing on a pen of this price. This is not an inexpensive pen. Okay, so enough about this. I think we all know that I adore this pen very, very much. Let me walk you through how it writes, and we will go from there. So today's pen is the Nakaya, if I can learn how to write, Neo Standard. And that is in the Aka-Tamenuri finish with a 14 karat gold broad nib, which writes like a, as is common, a Western style medium, which makes it great for me. And the ink for today is Mont Blanc Dandy Turquoise. This is the Honoré de Balzac Dandy Turquoise. You can find a review of this ink on penhabit.com. I like it quite a bit. Okay, so let's do a little quote here. I have to stop for a second and say I love this quote. I love this quote. I don't want to get on too much of a soapbox, but I think there is just far too much grandstanding and far too little of people in this world being willing to entertain another thought without accepting it, just to try to see the world from someone else's point of view. And I know this is getting a little existential and abstract here, but I think the world needs more people who are willing to entertain a thought that they don't necessarily accept to get a better sense of the world around them. So anyway, let's talk about the pen and not some of my political and personal viewpoints. Nice, solidly wet ink flow here. I mean, just nice, solidly wet ink flow. I haven't had any problems with the pen choking up on me. You can get some nice, if you've got a shading ink, you can get some nice shading just from that ink flow there. The nib is not terribly soft. I suspect you'd have to buy the soft nib, and they sell a soft nib version. So you could coax a little bit, but I don't want to coax too much out of this nib. That's not really what it's intended for. It's a beautiful writer, no hard starts or skipping or things like that. It does, though, like the Nakaya that I got, as well as the Platinum that I reviewed 7 or 8 videos ago, does have just a bit of feedback to it, which I don't find remotely unpleasant. Now, generally, I like a super smooth nib, but every now and again, a nib with some feedback is nice. And this one has, to me, what is kind of the perfect amount of feedback. If you're going to have a nib with feedback, This is what it should feel like. Um, as far as upside down writing, it actually writes quite smoothly upside down, and very fine line, no issues there. And yeah, it is quite a lovely, lovely pen. It fits so wonderfully in the hand. Um, it just, I really, really like this pen. And that reddish red finish, I think, is just a stunner. It just feels like it glows from the edges, which I like. I really, really like this pen, which is not a surprise. I have a list of Grail pens, and let me just interject for a moment. Uh, Someone got on my case for overuse of the term Grail pen because there's only one Holy Grail. I'm like, well, I didn't say Holy Grail pen. I said Grail pen. Lighten up. Seriously, lighten up. Uh, this is a pen I would like to own, and hopefully at some point in the not terribly distant future, we'll get an opportunity to. Um, if I had it to do over again, I'm not sure if I would have bought the Decapod or if I would have bought this pen. It's kind of a toss up for me. Um, this pen's about $100 cheaper than the Decapod, or no, excuse me. Yes, it's $100 cheaper than the Decapod and $200 cheaper than the Decapod Twist. So it's a lovely pen. I really, really like it a lot. And aside from that odd little thing of the tines being out of alignment, I haven't had problem number one with this little beauty. So if you have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comments section below or over on penhabit.com. And a big thanks to the owner of this pen who has been very generous in sending pens to me for review. I've got several more coming up because of this viewer's generosity, so I really do appreciate it. And we will see you here next time on The Pen Habit.